Imagine you've just arrived at a restaurant in a Spanish-speaking country. You're hungry. You walk through the door and the host greets you. They ask you, do you have a reservation? Hand you a menu, and suddenly you're thinking, how do I reply to this in Espanol?
By the end of today's episode, you'll know how to book a table in Spanish, order food and drinks with confidence, and handle everything from asking where the bathroom is to paying the bill. Vamos, amigos.
Welcome to Spanglish Friends, the podcast for true beginner Spanish learners.
Hola, amigos. I'm Val, your experienced Spanish teacher and co-host from Venezuela.
And I'm Em, your Australian co-host who's been learning Spanish for 10 years.
We'll help you get confident listening and speaking beginner Spanish with content you can actually use in real-life conversations.
Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and follow us on socials at Spanglish_friends. Let's get started.
Comencemos.
Hola, Spanglish friends. Welcome back to yet another awesome episode where we teach you practical Spanish you're actually going to use.
And if you're new here for the first time, welcome, bienvenido. Que estén pasando el mejor día. This is episode 67, episode 67, and today we're learning how to navigate restaurants in Spanish.
Whether you're going to be traveling through Spain, Mexico, Peru, Costa Rica, anywhere in the Spanish-speaking world, eating out is one of the best parts of traveling.
Absolutely, it really is. But ordering in another language can feel intimidating. What if you don't know how to ask for a table or the waiter asks you a question you weren't expecting?
That's exactly what we're fixing today. Firstly, we're talking about how to book a table when you arrive at the restaurant, how to order food and drinks with confidence, and then lastly, how to handle everything during the meal and finalizing your payments and leaving it at the end of your meal.
But as always, como siempre, let's listen to today's mini conversation. Imagine Em has booked a table and is arriving for dinner at a restaurant.
I'm very hungry. Tengo hambre. Listen carefully and see how many words you can recognize to prove yourself your listening skills are improving. ¿Lista, Profe Val?
Sí, amiga. Vamos al restaurante. Comencemos.
Buenas noches. Tengo una reserva a nombre de Emily.
Buenas noches. Claro. Sígame, por favor. Su mesa está lista.
Gracias.
Aquí tiene el menú. ¿Quiere agua con gas o sin gas?
Sin gas, por favor.
Perfecto. ¿Ya sabe qué va a pedir?
Sí. Me da una sopa y un pollo, por favor.
Muy bien. ¿Algo más?
No, gracias. Pero disculpe, ¿dónde está el baño?
El baño está al fondo, a la derecha.
Gracias. ¿Me da la cuenta, por favor?
Claro. ¿Desea añadir la propina?
Sí, gracias.
Perfecto. ¿Quiere el comprobante?
Sí, por favor. Muchas gracias.
De nada. All right, friends, let's break that conversation down so you're ready for your next restaurant visit.
So before you even arrive at el restaurante, you might want to reserve a table, una mesa. So to say you want to reserve a table, it's reservar una mesa. Reservar means to reserve.
And mesa means table. Reservar una mesa. If you're calling the restaurant or sending a message, simply say, quiero reservar una mesa. This means, I want to reserve a table.
And you can add the time and the date where you want to go to the restaurant. For example, quiero reservar una mesa para el viernes, for Friday, a las 8 de la noche, at 8 o'clock at night.
The restaurant might ask, ¿para cuántas personas? Meaning, for how many people? ¿Para cuántas personas?
And you can simply reply with para plus the amount of people. For example, para dos personas. For 2 people, para cuatro personas. For 4 people, just change the number depending on your group size.
Exacto. Now, when you arrive at a restaurant, one of the first questions you'll probably hear is, ¿Tiene una reserva? This means, do you have a reservation? ¿Tiene una reserva?
If you don't, you can just say no, no tengo. But if you do, you can say sí, tengo una reserva a nombre de. A nombre de means of the name. So I have a reservation under the name. For example, tengo una reserva a nombre de Emily, like I said in our mini conversation, for Emily.
Exactamente. Once you said this, your mesero or mesera in Latin America or camarero, camarera in Spain, that means waiter or waitress, might say, su mesa está lista. This means your table is ready. And followed probably by sígame, por favor. Sígame is like follow me, por favor, please.
So friends, you're sitting down now at your table, at your mesa, in your silla, in your seat, and you're reviewing el menú, okay? Now, if there's something on the menu you don't recognize in Spanish, my top tip, I don't know if it's cheating or not, but I always use this when I was overseas, is to use a translation app or AI to scan it. It's a fantastic way to learn new food vocab whilst traveling. It will save you a lot of time because there are a lot of dishes and a lot of different vocab out there for food. So that's my top tip if you don't understand an item on the menu.
Now let's look at some questions your waiter, your mesero or camarero might ask. The first is, ¿Está listo para pedir? Are you ready to order?
They might also ask, ¿Qué va a pedir? What would you like to order?
Another one you might also hear is, ¿Ya sabe qué va a pedir? We use this in our mini conversation. ¿Ya sabe qué va a pedir? Do you already know what you'd like to order? My top tip is listen out for the verb pedir. It means to order. Or listo, lista. It means like, are you ready?
So listen out for pedir or listo. Nice. And if you are ready, say sí. But if you need another minute, you can simply say un momento, por favor. Dame un momento, por favor. It's like, give me a moment, please.
And when you are ready, the easiest way to order is with me da plus the food. This means, can you give me?
So, for example, me da una ensalada, por favor. Can you give me a salad? Can I order a salad, please? Or me da un pescado frito, por favor. Can you give me the fried fish, please? I said, me da un pollo in the mini conversation. Can you give me the chicken?
You'll also hear lots of native speakers use quiero. This is another option, which means I want or I'd like. For example, quiero una pizza, por favor. Both are completely natural, so use whichever feels easier to you.
That's right. Me da or quiero to order food. Nice. And when it comes to drinks, bebidas, the waiter might ask you, ¿Qué va a tomar? Which means, what would you like to drink? Tomar means to drink. You might also hear beber, which means to drink. Tomar or beber.
¿Qué va a tomar? Or ¿qué va a beber? And you can simply respond with quiero plus the drink. Quiero una limonada, por favor. I like a lemonade. Quiero un jugo, a juice. Una bebida, a Coke, por favor.
And another question you might hear from the waiter, particularly if it's a fancy restaurant, un restaurante lujoso, you might get asked, because otherwise you need to pay for water in most Spanish-speaking countries, but they might ask you, agua con gas o sin gas? ¿Quiere agua con gas o sin gas?
Agua con gas means sparkling water, and agua sin gas means still water.
If you'd like sparkling water, simply just reply con gas, por favor. Or if you just prefer still water, tap water, you can just say sin gas, por favor.
El mesero or el camarero might also ask you if you want something else by saying algo más. This is literally something else. You can say sí or no, and just like that, you've ordered your meal and drinks.
Nice. And we can now enjoy our beautiful meals, tame our hunger, but there's still a few useful phrases that are going to make the rest of your restaurant experience much easier. And finishing off, how do we pay that bill?
Let's start with one you'll almost certainly need to ask where the bathroom is. You can say, ¿Dónde está el baño? Where is the bathroom? ¿Dónde está el baño?
And the waiter might reply with al fondo. Al fondo means at the back. They might say a la derecha, to the right, a la izquierda, to the left.
Here's a quick travel tip as well, amigos. Bathroom doors often say hombres, or men, and mujeres, meaning women, or just the letter in front of the door with H for hombres and M for mujeres. And on the taps, you might see C, a letter C, for caliente, meaning hot, and an F, meaning fría, for cold.
Don't make the same mistake I did when I first traveled to Chile in 2016 and I didn't know Spanish and I turned on the sea tap thinking it was cold and then I almost burnt my hands because the water was scalding hot. So sea in Spanish speaking countries means hot and fría means cold.
Oh no. Now paying the bill. The phrase you'll use most is me da la cuenta, por favor. This is literally, can you give me the bill, please? Depending on the country, your camarero might ask, ¿Desea añadir la propina? Would you like to leave a tip? La propina, the tip.
And if you want to, you can say sí, gracias. But if not, you can say no, gracias. And if you're paying with a card con tarjeta instead of efectivo, instead of cash, they usually just add the tip onto the machine when you're going to pay.
Exactly. And talking about paying with cash or card, you could say then pago con efectivo. I'm paying with cash. Or pago con tarjeta. You're paying with card. And if you need the receipt, the word is comprobante. So you just need to ask again with me da el comprobante, por favor? And you get it.
Nice. Woohoo! Now we have all the vocab to enjoy a restaurant in Spanish with confidence.
I think now it's time to do a recap, as always, with the things our Spanglish friends they have to learn from today's episode.
If you remember these few things, let it be this. To reserve a table is quiero reservar una mesa. If you already have a booking, say tengo una reserva a nombre de, followed by your name.
To order, simply start with quiero or me da, plus your food. Me da una ensalada, quiero un sándwich, por favor.
If you're asked agua con gas o sin gas, you know what this means. Do you want sparkling water or still water?
And now you need the bathroom? Then ask, ¿Dónde está el baño?
If you're ready to pay, say, me da la cuenta, por favor. Can you give me the bill, please?
And if you need a receipt, ask, ¿Me da el comprobante, por favor? So handy.
Oh, so handy. Now it's time for you to practice, amigos, with our reto de la semana, our challenge of the week. What is it, Profe Val?
Imagine you walked into a restaurant, al restaurante. What's the very first thing you'd say in Spanish? Maybe quiero una mesa. Or perhaps you've arrived and say, tengo una reserva a nombre de. Leave your answers in the comments and we'll help you perfect it.
Speaking of perfect things, it's time for our Spanglish friend shout out of the week. And this Spanglish friend shout out goes to Jasmine, who commented on our very first episode saying that she's just recently discovered our podcast and was finally starting her Spanish journey. Welcome to the Spanglish Friends family, Jasmine. We're so happy to have you here.
Bienvenida, Jasmine. Qué maravilloso. We love seeing your comments every week. So keep joining in with the reto. You could be our next shout out.
Speaking of next things, spoiler alert for next week, we're going to be building upon today's lesson by talking about food preferences. How do you say, I'd want this dish without this particular ingredient? Maybe you hate it. Maybe it gives you the ick. Or maybe you have a certain dietary requirement like you're allergic to nuts or you're gluten intolerant. We're going to talk about all of this so you can continue to feel confident eating out in español.
Que disfruten su próxima comida y practiquen mucho español. Practice a lot of Spanish. We are going to see you next week. Thanks for listening to Spanglish Friends. We are both so proud of the time you're investing to level up your Spanish skills.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, follow us, leave a rating, or tell a friend about the show. It helps our awesome community grow.
Join fellow beginner Spanish learners by following us on Instagram and TikTok at Spanglish_friends.
Congratulations on taking another step in your Spanish learning journey.
Hasta la próxima, amigos.